my property, please.
Don't
get off my property. Can't get off my property.
I'm leaving.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Get off my property. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell us about your
What don't you understand?
In the
Get off the property, partner.
Investigation
Get
into
off the
Sandra
thank you.
Lisi.
Thank you very much.
Are you the focus of the
Thank
police
you.
drug investigation
Thank you.
related to Sandra
Thank you.
Lisi, Mr. Mayor? What were you telling?
That was George Smitherman, who ran to be mayor of Toronto after he revealed he had a long-term illegal drug addiction, and his long-term partner was found curled up in a fetal position outside a known crack house, and their adopted children were being babysat by their long-term nanny, the former mayor of Toronto, Barbara Hall. Oh, no, I've got that wrong. The media paid no attention to that, did they? That was Rob Ford. Let me introduce the panel, as always. Marion Mead Ward and David Menzies.
I knew you'd go there. George Smitherman is to blame for Rob Ford.
No, I think Rob Ford is an idiot. I think it's time for him to resign.
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is the double standard is as large as the ocean.
There is no liberal media conspiracy. There is no double standard. You know about the George Smitherman story because it was reported. We know about the Rob Ford story because it was reported as it should have been. And in fact, the questions around this are why wasn't he arrested if the police saw him receiving packages from known drug dealers? That's a significant question.
That's proven, is it?
That's part of the police investigation. That's what they're supposed to do, is investigate when he is in the company.
There's a little thing I like to refer to, which is called due process, and innocent before being found guilty.
Yes.
You have just convicted him.
No, I have not convicted him. I have asked the question, which is a legitimate question, which was asked yesterday by defense lawyer Clayton Ruby. Why didn't the police? Hold on.
Clayton Ruby, out of fairness and objectivity. Oh, grow up, Marion. Grow up. I'm sorry. I love you, but grow up. Clayton Ruby. Look, Rob Ford has been a bloody fool. He is a bloody fool. He's not a bad man, but I suspect he has all sorts of addiction issues here, and I think a lot of this is probably true.
Yes.
2, there is a double standard. Smitherman has layers of issues and problems: temper control, anger, drugs.
He has never
Let me finish the sentence. His partner who we meant to celebrate, is his wonderful gay couple. His partner wanders off. He's found by a crack house. He has issues. They babysit his bar. I know for a fact the following day at the CBC, when someone mentioned, should we not cover this issue? They said, no, we shouldn't. Let's cover Rob Ford instead. But it doesn't detract from the fact that Ford is I believe, in huge trouble and he should resign.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Smitherman, after misplacing $1 billion of our taxpayer money, Michael, imagine that, 1,000 checks for $1 million each. Maybe it's behind the duvet where his strange gay lover sleeps. I don't know. Is somehow gone amiss. But, you know, and he's an admitted drug user. We don't know what drugs, but hey, that doesn't matter, does it? No, if anyone, and by the way, I've got a problem with you calling Rob Ford an idiot. I don't think an idiot is someone who privatizes garbage collection. I don't think an idiot is someone who wins for subways for Toronto instead of streetcars, adding to the gridlock.
Another fanatic. You're just as extreme as Marion.
Oh, really?
He called him an idiot. He has acted in the most thuggish way. He says things which are dumb. He has done huge damage to a conservative cost-cutting agenda that I support, and he should resign now. It's not about him anymore. Smitherman, the media have let him get away with so much. Rob Ford, they've gone after him unfairly, but he has dug the hole and they've simply walked into it.
Oh, Michael, I agree. There should be a resignation. There should be a resignation right now, and it should be coming from the office of the pansified police chief of Toronto, Bill Blair, who gets up and says, oh, I can't comment on this, and this is before the courts, and you know what? I'm very disappointed. Oh, and by the way, here's some tidbits of
human being.
Oh, who shows he's a human being?
Everybody is
don't chat one at a time, guys.
And a mayor who exhibits this behavior, who has consistently taken the approach, instead of owning the issue, instead of getting help, instead of acknowledging the problems, consistently deny. Even now, when the evidence is out there, continues to deny.
What evidence? Let's see.
May I ask you a question, David?
It is completely unethical.
There's a deputy mayor in Toronto right now who is a quiet, controlled man of some dignity, who has the same ideology as the mayor of Toronto. He could implement cost-cutting, fiscal responsibility. There's no scandal. What really annoys me is this has all now become about Rob Ford and his partisans, you're included, saying he can do no wrong. Peeing in the bushes.
I didn't say that.
Meeting people at soccer games outside McDonald's. The exchange of items. The whole thing stinks, David. So what you've done is to say to the left, all those, the Adam Vaughns and the rest of them, you've said, here's the key to the door. Do you want to go through? And you call yourself a conservative?
Oh, Michael, listen, let's bring it back to Blair. And let's have the investigative journal. Hold on a second. I'm going to get to your point in a second. If we want to do a little digging, right, why don't we see how much of John Tory's fingerprints are over this?
Well, hold on.
Him and Bill Blair.
Wait. No. I'm going to stop you right, Dave.
Okay,
no.
Good.
This is why you get yourself in trouble, David.
Yeah.
First, John Tory's a friend of mine. Second, you don't bring people in who have nothing to do with it. Stop it now.
He's got
David,
stop
it. David,
what? You won't let me
will
speak?
stop it now.
Why? He wants to be mayor.
David,
Blair is
I'm
a
telling
friend
you,
of his.
if you want to appear on this show ever again, you will stop this now.
Oh, yeah,
Because as before, you're going to land us in serious legal trouble, and I'm always completely open. First, John is a friend of mine. Second, I think he's a man of absolute integrity. But third, you are alleging things about people that have absolutely no legal support.
What did I allege?
Can you please answer the damn question? We're talking about Ford making it easy for the left to take over Toronto City Council.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to, Michael, because what I see, I won't name names, maybe someone's going to throw his hat into the mayoral race, and who's going to come up the middle? It'll be
and then
Olivia
you wonder
Chow.
why you lose job.
No, then it'll be Olivia Chow. Oh, nice.
I'm sorry, David,
nice
but you're so irresponsible sometimes.
Nice.
You're so
but wait a
irresponsible.
minute. No, because what you're going to have happen then is reversing all the progress that Rob Ford has done in the city of Toronto.
If the so-called fiscal conservative agenda is resident in one person only, then the conservative movement has a huge problem. I don't think it is. And in fact, I support a lot of the cost-cutting measures. I think that agenda, the cost-cutting, is bigger than one man, just as City Council in Toronto is bigger than one man. And Rob Ford needs to step aside and get help for himself. He is doing a disservice to the role and to everything else, and he clearly needs some help. But the conservative agenda will continue if there are people that get the support of the election of the people to carry that forward. That's called an election. That's happening in a year.
If Karen Stintz wants to run, she's centre-right, attractive woman, she's quite intelligent, there's no scandal attached. If she runs against Olivia Chow, I think there's a good chance she will win.
Yes.
What we're doing now, though, Ford was at 49%, he's down at 39%, which amazes me is that high. If it carries on like this, anyone who runs under the Conservative ticket, who has any even tenuous link to him, will automatically lose.
I don't think so. Absolutely not. There are enough people. The voters are smarter than that.
Really?
The voters can separate what you stand for and who you are as a person. Who Rob Ford is as a person, he needs to get help. He has huge
really
integrity.
Care?
He has. Of course, I care.
I'm not being cruel.
Care about him.
People who say he needs to get help generally say they want to get rid of him.
This is not a great day for him or for anybody that cares about humanity. He has issues that he needs to deal with, but he also needs to man up, and he needs to look at his own integrity. He has denied things that are true, and that he has been consistently proven to be denying allegations that are true. That is,
we don't know
to me, that is a bigger issue
Michael,
than anything else.
It brings it back to the bigger question, and I'm going to still, because I do believe in due process, and I do believe in proof, unlike you, Marianne Meade Ward, if indeed he has substance abuse issues. What it comes down to, Michael, I think the fundamental question is this. Do you want a leader who actually is a great leader but might be have some moral, ethical problems, or do you want somebody who is morally and ethically unreproachable and is a very poor leader? Who would you choose? No, given the choice.
He's not a great leader.
Let me say this. You've just said you believe in due process, but about 3 minutes ago, you began to imply that someone with absolutely no legal support for this statement was involved in...
No, I didn't say that, Michael.
Well, I'm not going to again, but I think you have to be consistent.
No.
This is not a moral flaw. If this is true, this is consistent, repeated illegal activity.
Absolutely.
Got to go to break. Thank you very much. More when we come back. Is it genetic? I don't know. But David Menzies, he has two lovely boys, and one of them got into a bit of trouble at school. And I'm going to show you a picture. Can we say that was his Halloween costume there? Now, this is after the school was very specific in saying you can't have replica weapons, you can't wear masks, and no artificial blood. So David sends his little boy to school in a mask with replica blood and an artificial weapon. Why did you do that, David?
Actually, you got it backwards, Michael. The costume was bought and paid for before I got that information. So if you're if you're going as Jason Voorhees, that costume entails 3 items: a mask, fake blood, and a fake machete.
Yeah. You changed the costume, though, couldn't you?
Well, I'm not made of millions like you, so I'm afraid I can't do that on a whim, Michael. But so I figured, you know what? If worse comes to worse, they'll just take the mask and confiscate the the machete, right?
But they gave him detention.
But they put him in the detention room for 7 hours.
Terrible. That's appalling.
Should have just sent him home. Taken the costume.
But let's deconstruct this.
Taken the costume.
Not too long on this. Okay, the punishment was way over the top. To put him in detention on Halloween in particular, but even with that, it's just appalling overreaction. Yeah. They should have phoned you or your wife and said, look, he's going to have to go home or get a different costume.
Yeah, and we only got that call about 20 minutes before school ended for the day. Behavior. Now, the principal is good. The school is good. They are beholden, evidently, to school board policy. Evidently, this is not to traumatize kids. Hey, I remember Halloween as a kid. Everybody enjoyed Halloween, but the social engineers seem intent on sucking the fun out of you.
Why did you do it?
Was completely
Why did you? Their reaction was totally wrong. Forget the school board. The principal has complete authority in the school. The principal calls and says, "Look, you're going to have to take him home or get him a different costume." But you knew. Forget the money silliness. It cost nothing for a costume. You knew they said no. The 3 things they said no to are the 3 things that you use.
Well, two things. One is jaywalking is against the law. I do jaywalk. I don't expect 20 years in Millhaven. Secondly, the no mask rule. What's the ostensible reason for that, Michael? Well, safety. So I said to them, if you had someone in a full niqab or burqa come to the school, would that be allowed? Oh, yeah, of course. We believe in diversity and tolerance. Yeah. So it's not a safety issue anymore. And the funny thing is...
Did you tell your son to jaywalk?
They're completely different
no, I don't.
issues.
Would you like your son to jaywalk?
I said no. Do you want me to ask a third time? It
wasn't you. It was your son who was sent to school wearing the 3 things that you said no to.
What are you teaching your son when there is a specific set of instructions around what is appropriate or not, and he just ignores that? What are you teaching him?
Well, maybe, before the social engineers became like vampires sucking the fun out of Halloween for phantom reasons.
They're not allowed either. Vampires aren't allowed.
A machete with blood and a mask, that is fun? That's not
it is
fun.
Of course it is fun.
That is not fun.
Why isn't it fun?
Who is this traumatized? It's completely inappropriate
and I said
to have
them,
that.
I said, if you...
And that's why they put the rules.
Marianne,
they have dress codes and they have costume codes.
If you have traumatized children at this school, whether it's domestic violence or they've come from a war-torn country, then my heart goes out to them and you give them counseling. And if you think these kids can't tell the difference, unlike Marianne Mead Ward here, can't tell the difference between cartoon violence on Halloween and real violence.
What about if one of them was dressed as Saddam Hussein, BlackBerry and uniform, no blood or weapons?
Hitler. No, we got the same advisory. It was probably all schools.
And it's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous.
But their punishment was ridiculous too.
The punishment was ridiculous, and what they directed our kids to do was to actually bring their costume to school, so that if anybody did bring an inappropriate costume, they had a change of clothes.
What else was inappropriate?
And so they talked about masks. They talked about it wasn't just weapons. It was, a baton or whatever. Anything that they were holding onto.
Why is fake blood inappropriate?
Because it's gory. It is not.
It's Halloween, Dave. It's not meant to be gory on Halloween.
Yeah, well, I think it goes over the top. I do draw a distinction between.
What about dressing as a fairy? That could be offensive to all sorts of people.
It's not offensive to me.
So it's all subjective now. You create the law, do you?
But some of them are quite violent. And are we trying to encourage violence in the schools or not?
Yes.
I have no problem with costumes.
Dressing in that costume. Marianne, in fact, there is evidence that dressing like that led straight to the Holocaust.
Oh, stop.
You're being ludicrous.
I never said
You're being ludicrous.
No, I am not. This encourages a desensitization.
There are three things wrong about this story. The first one is the school board policy is absurdly draconian and controlling. The second is the reaction of the school to give him such a long detention.
I agree with
that. The third is your behaviour as a father.
I knew you were going to do that.
Sorry, David. You shouldn't have done it.
Yes, he ignored it.
One thing for you to say, bugger him, I will go in there and provoke. Another thing for you to get your son to do it.
Funnily enough, what he was required to do in that 7 hours in detention was read books on the 2 world wars and the Holocaust.
Where there was no violence at all.
Oh, yeah. Boy, that's like My Little Pony. Friendship is magic, isn't it?
Here's another thing that we haven't talked about.
Marianne. The Battle of the Somme, for example. Have you ever seen the weapons used at the Battle of the Somme?
Okay,
they'd have knuckle dusters with serrated razor blades at the end. They would gouge each other's eyes out.
You're not
listening. Listen. he was asked to read books about battles where men gouged each other's eyes out because he'd come to school in a costume that was apparently too gory.
Yes, so kids need to learn about the real violence and the things that people do to each other. But to show up in a costume
what does that mean?
that is...
No.
Of course it makes sense.
What are you saying?
Real graphic, grotesque violence is acceptable, but play silly movie violence is not.
So I don't know what he read, but certainly we need to teach children about war and why
let's speak about dating.
Have it.
There's an article that appeared this week about a woman, I think she's an actress, or wants to be an actress, who dates men, only one date, so she can get a free meal out of it. Would you do such a thing? Have you done such a thing?
Never.
Never?
I offer to pay, always have, and usually it's kind of tag team, and I do this with my girlfriends too. So we go out, sometimes they pay, sometimes I pay. It all works out in the end. It's about the social interaction. I can't speak for this individual. I don't believe that any person should take from somebody. I don't believe
coming from a politician.
I don't know if I even believe her story. I think it's a way to get herself some publicity, but if it is true, yeah. You go out with people just to get a free meal, and then you make this known to the press.
You don't believe the story, her story. Okay. Well,
I'm not sure if I do. It seems a way to get a bit of publicity, but if it's true, I think it's immoral.
You know, isn't this about as newsworthy as reporting there's salt water in the Pacific Ocean, Michael? I mean, like, isn't this 'Twas Ever Thus? I mean, remember the Kink song, Come Dancing?
Yeah.
He'd end up blowing all his wages for the week, all for a cuddle and a peck on the cheek. Come dancing. 'Twas Ever Thus.
I'm going to tell you a story to end. A few years ago when the kids were younger, the Kinks revival. One of them came to me and said, Dad, have you heard of a band called the Kinks? And I said, I've had dinner with Ray Davies.
Ooh.
For about an hour,
Dinner.
I was trendy dad. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.